The galaxy had seen war before, wars of empire, wars of pride, wars of survival. But nothing, not even the most brutal conflicts of the past, prepared them for the coming of the Oblivion Harbinger. It arrived without warning, sliding out of the void like a nightmare-given shape. Its hull was an obsidian black that swallowed light, its size dwarfing entire fleets. The first scouts who sighted it transmitted frantic descriptions. A ship that seemed alive, feeding on energy, metals, even organic matter. The second scouts never transmitted anything at all. The Deathworld Alliance, an uneasy coalition of species from the most hostile planets in the galaxy, was forged not by friendship, but by necessity. For centuries they had fought one another, clawing for dominance. But when the Harbinger appeared, when even their combined arsenals shattered like glass against its shields, they understood that their squabbles meant nothing. If the Harbinger was not stopped, there would be no one left to rule. Fleet after fleet converged, hurling weapons of terrible design. Plasma storms that melted moons, graviton imploders that crushed matter into singularities, biogenic swarms engineered to consume anything with mass. The Harbinger survived them all. Every battle ended the same. The Alliance fought bravely, desperately, but one by one their ships burned, their worlds fell silent. The Harbinger did not stop. It consumed, adapted, and advanced. By the time it reached the Vieira expanse, morale was broken. Allied commanders spoke in whispers, voices heavy with defeat. Some argued for retreat, scattering their remaining worlds into the void. Others wanted to attempt peace as though one could negotiate with a machine that devoured suns. But all those debates ended when long-range sensors flared with a signal. A fleet was arriving. The fleet was human. The announcement drew silence at first. Humanity had been absent from the Alliance's councils, absent from its wars. They had remained neutral, sealed away in their own systems, refusing all calls for aid. For many, Earth was a myth, its people whispered about as reckless predators, survivors of a world where everything tried to kill them. And yet there they were. Hundreds of warships unfolded from hyperspace, their drives roaring like thunder. They looked primitive compared to the sleek curves of Alliance vessels. Angular hulls, heavy plating, weapons bristling from every surface. They were not graceful. They were not elegant. They were not beautiful. They were monstrous. The flagship emerged last. It was colossal, scarred from 100 battles, its armor pitted with burns and impact craters that had never been repaired, only reinforced. Across its side ran a name, etched deep into the steel, TSS Vengeance. The Alliance commanders scoffed at first. What could these relics of an isolated world accomplish, when their own most advanced technologies had failed? Their doubts lasted only minutes. The Harbinger turned, its black hull shimmering as it prepared to fire. Before the Alliance could react, the Vengeance surged ahead, alone. "Are they insane?" hissed Admiral Core of the Threx. "No," replied an older commander, her mandibles clicking softly. "They are human." The first exchange shook the stars. The Harbinger unleashed beams of annihilation, wide enough to vaporize cities. The Vengeance did not dodge. It endured. Its shields buckled, armor melted, but the ship held. And when it returned fire, it did not unleash elegant lances of energy. It spat destruction in raw, brutal forms. Kinetic slugs the size of skyscrapers, warheads that split apart into clouds of molten metal, rail-accelerated projectiles so dense they pierced the Harbinger's armor for the first time. The Alliance fleets watched, stunned. The Harbinger adapted, shifting frequencies, nullifying energy attacks. But Earth's weapons weren't just energy, they were matter, mass hurled at near-light speed, things that physics itself struggled to resist. For every adaptation the Harbinger made, Earth found another wound to open. More human ships joined the battle, swarming around their flagship like wolves tearing at a beast. They rammed when they had to. They sacrificed ships willingly to create openings. Their tactics were messy, costly, reckless, utterly alien to the disciplined strategies of the Alliance. But they worked. Hours turned into a day into two. The Harbinger roared its defiance, splitting apart human ships by the dozens, but still the Terrans came. They did not retreat. They did not hesitate. They bled for every inch, every crack, every weakness. On the third day something changed. The Harbinger's armor began to fail. Its black surface, once impenetrable, glowed with wounds that would not heal. A cheer spread through the Alliance fleets, raw, unrestrained. For the first time since the war began they believed. The Vengeance pressed forward, its engines burning hotter than any sane engineer would allow. It plunged into the Harbinger's shadow, weapons blazing, tearing deeper into its guts. And then came the final strike. A warhead detonated within the Harbinger's heart, a device so terrible that the Alliance commanders shivered knowing humanity had built it. The Harbinger screamed, if a machine could scream. Its vast form cracked, split, and finally, impossibly died. Silence followed. Silence across every channel, every ship, every world watching. Then, slowly, cheers erupted, not only from human throats but from every allied species. The impossible had been done. The Harbinger was gone. The commanders of the Deathworld Alliance stared at their human allies in awe. For all their technologies, for all their combined power, they had failed. And Earth, primitive, reckless, untested Earth, had succeeded. Later, when the Alliance Council convened, they asked Earth's admiral what drove his people to such madness. His reply was simple. You call us Deathworlders. You're right. On Earth, survival was never guaranteed. We learned to fight with tooth and claw because the alternative was extinction. The Harbinger? It was just another predator. And humanity doesn't bow to predators. The galaxy remembered that moment. And from then on, the Deathworld Alliance did not see Earth as a junior partner, or as reckless survivors. They saw them as what they truly were. The last hope when all else failed. The monsters that monsters feared. The reason the galaxy still drew breath. The Deathworld Alliance had been forged in blood and necessity. It was not friendship that bound them together but survival. From the acidic oceans of Erath to the volcanic plains of Crother, the galaxy's most hostile planets had produced civilizations that could not die easily. Their warriors were strong, their weapons unrivaled, their sciences sharp. Together they were supposed to be unbreakable. And yet, when the Annihilator came, all their might crumbled like dust. The ship had no origin anyone could trace. Some said it was a remnant of a forgotten war. Others whispered it was a rogue creation of an extinct empire. Whatever its beginning, its purpose was clear: destruction. It drifted into systems, unleashed weapons that cracked planets, then harvested what remained with horrifying precision. The Alliance struck it with everything they had. Plasma cannons, singularity charges, neurotoxin swarms, they all failed. The Annihilator's shields bent physics, shifting frequencies faster than any computer could calculate. Its AI anticipated strategies before they were even executed. It was not a ship. It was inevitability. World after world fell silent. Fleets that had once been proud symbols of Deathworld might were reduced to glowing wreckage. The Alliance, so confident in its unity, now teetered on the edge of collapse. Admirals whispered of surrender. Generals spoke of retreat. And for the first time in centuries, the most dangerous beings of the galaxy tasted fear. Then came a transmission. It was brief, almost blunt, spoken in a human tongue most of the galaxy had forgotten to translate. But the message carried through every channel, every ship, every council chamber. This is Earth Command. We are deploying. The words fell like thunder. For decades, humanity had refused to join the Alliance. They claimed neutrality, isolation. Their envoys would appear, listen, and then walk away, their faces unreadable. Many in the Alliance dismissed them as arrogant cowards. Others whispered that humans had their own secret wars, their own reasons for staying apart. Now, in the galaxy's darkest hour, they came. And what came with them was not diplomacy. It was war. From hyperspace tore forth a fleet unlike anything the Alliance had ever seen. Hundreds of ships, jagged and angular, poured into the system. They were not sleek like Alliance vessels, nor elegant in their design. They were brutal, armored like predators, bristling with cannons that glowed with restrained violence. At the center of it all sailed Earth's flagship, the UNS Revenant. A ship so massive it dwarfed even the greatest of Crother's war cruisers. Its hull was scarred, not from neglect, but from battles long past. Every scorch mark was a memory. Every plate of armor was a grave marker. The Alliance watched in stunned silence. Humanity had not merely arrived, they had arrived prepared. The Annihilator turned to meet this new threat, its shields shimmering as it readied another wave of destruction. Alliance commanders tensed, expecting Earth's fleet to scatter like all the others. But the humans did not scatter. They advanced. The Revenant surged forward, unleashing a barrage of weapons so varied it made the Alliance dizzy. Massive kinetic slugs screamed through space at near light speed, striking with such force that the Annihilator's shields flickered for the first time. Swarms of micromissiles spread like a cloud of stinging insects, overwhelming point defenses with sheer numbers. Then came weapons none of the Alliance recognized, rods of exotic matter that phased through shields, drones that sacrificed themselves by detonating inside cracks in the enemy's hull. Where the Alliance fought with elegance, Earth fought with savagery. Their ships rammed when they had to. They overloaded reactors and turned wrecks into bombs. They treated every vessel not as a machine, but as a weapon of last resort. The Annihilator adapted as it always had. Its AI countered Earth's tactics, shutting down one avenue of attack after another. But for every strategy blocked, humanity opened another. Their fleets shifted, broke apart, reformed, moved with chaos that no algorithm could predict. They weren't fighting like a machine. They were fighting like survivors. Hours turned into a day. Alliance commanders watched in disbelief as Earth endured where they had failed. Losses mounted, human ships burned by the dozens, but they never faltered. Even as the Annihilator tore into them, they pressed closer, like wolves tearing into a beast too large to kill in one strike. On the second day, the Revenant made its move. It plunged straight into the Annihilator's defenses, its armor glowing white-hot as it absorbed impossible punishment. Entire decks ruptured, crews sacrificed themselves sealing breaches, but the ship pressed forward. And then, at the exact moment the Annihilator's weapons recalibrated, the Revenant unleashed its final weapon. It was not elegant. It was not clean. It was a warhead, ancient in design yet monstrous in execution. A warhead built not to win battles but to end wars. The blast tore through the Annihilator's core. For the first time the galaxy's monster screamed, not in victory but in death. Its hull split, shields collapsed, its AI burned itself out trying to survive the impossible. The Annihilator was no more. The galaxy held its breath. The Revenant drifted, scarred and broken but alive. Around it humanity's surviving ships gathered, battered yet unyielding. And across every allied channel, silence gave way to awe. The Deathworld alliance had failed. Humanity had succeeded. When the Council convened later, they demanded answers. Why had Earth stayed silent for so long? Why had they refused the Alliance's pleas for help? The human admiral answered without hesitation. Because you weren't ready. You fight for victory. We fight because extinction is our baseline. On Earth, survival is not granted. It is earned every day against a world that tried to kill us long before the stars ever did. The Annihilator? It was just another challenge. And humanity prepares for challenges. The Alliance understood then. Humanity had not been idle in their isolation. They had been sharpening themselves for the day the galaxy would need them. That day had come. And now the Alliance knew the truth. They had not saved Earth. Earth had saved them. From that moment on, every commander, every soldier, every child born across the Deathworld Alliance carried a whispered phrase with reverence and fear. When all else fails, wait for Earth. The Deathworld Alliance was the galaxy's shield. For centuries, they had been the coalition that stood against invaders, raiders, and extinction events. They were not made of gentle species, nor of peaceful worlds. Every member came from planets that should have killed them long before they reached the stars, death worlds of acid seas, burning skies, crushing gravity, and predators that stalked even the strongest. Their unity had been born not of trust, but of shared brutality. Together they believed nothing could break them. And then the ship appeared. It slid from the dark void without a sound, without an origin. A vessel of impossible size, ancient and terrible. Its hull was not metal but something older, something that shifted as if alive. Its weapons did not fire beams or missiles but unraveled matter, peeling entire fleets apart in silence. The Deathworld Alliance threw its best against it. War cruisers from Crother, living swarm ships from Erath, gravity lances from Asa Prime. None of it mattered. The ship endured. Worse, it learned. Every weapon used against it became useless the next time. Every formation was countered. Worlds burned. Fleets shattered. The Alliance bled. Hope began to die. And then, on the eve of despair, a new fleet arrived. They emerged from hyperspace without ceremony, without flourish. At first, the Alliance mistook them for raiders, ships so crude in shape they looked like scrap iron compared to the elegant lines of their own vessels. Thick armor, jagged frames, and weapon ports bristling from every angle. They did not move like dancers but like predators, direct and unflinching. At their head came one ship larger than the rest, a vast behemoth with a name carved into its side in bold Terran script, Leviathan. The Alliance commanders gasped. Humanity. The galaxy had always whispered of Earth. A planet of monsters, where lightning storms could level cities, where oceans devoured continents, where life itself evolved teeth, venom, and claws simply to survive. Other species had barely survived contact with Deathworlds half as harsh. But Earth was legendary. Most had dismissed humans as myth, or as an isolated feral species too savage to be trusted. For centuries Earth had remained silent, watching, waiting. Now they had come. The alien commanders were uneasy. The humans' arrival was no grand alliance declaration, no offer of peace. Their ships moved into formation with cold precision, ignoring council hails. The Leviathan's hull glowed faintly from the heat of its drives, and its weapon bays opened like jaws. Then came the humans' first transmission, a single line broadcast across every channel. "We hunt." The galaxy had never seen battle like the one that followed. The ancient ship turned, its black hull shimmering, preparing to erase the newcomers as it had all others. The humans did not flinch. They did not scatter. They attacked. The Leviathan roared forward, flanked by packs of smaller warships. Its first volley shook the stars. Kinetic slugs the size of towers launched at such velocity they tore through the impossible shields. Missiles swarmed like a storm, detonating with fury. When the ship countered, beams that had shredded Alliance fleets in seconds washed across human hulls, only to be met with layer after layer of armor, shields tuned not for elegance but for endurance. The humans pressed on. Where the Alliance sought to outmaneuver, humanity sought to overwhelm. Their ships rammed when firing arcs failed. Damaged craft became weapons, detonating themselves against the monster's armor. Every human vessel fought as though its crew had already accepted death, yet none surrendered, none retreated. For the first time, the impossible ship faltered. Its hull bore scars. Its adaptation routines struggled against the chaos of human tactics. It could counter precision but not madness. It could anticipate logic but not feral instinct. The Alliance fleets watched, transfixed. Admiral Vena of Irath whispered, "They fight like us." Then after a pause, "No. They fight worse. They fight like monsters." Hours became days. The humans did not relent. Their losses were staggering, but still they pressed closer, the Leviathan leading with relentless hunger. Each blow they dealt dug deeper, each sacrifice widened cracks in the ship's armor. On the third day, the Leviathan made its final charge. Its engines flared so bright they blinded sensors. It smashed through the enemy's outer hull, tearing into the ancient ship at point-blank range. Wrecked human ships followed, slamming themselves into weak points, detonating their cores in suicidal strikes. And then, from deep inside the Leviathan, came a weapon the Alliance had never seen. Something forbidden, something humanity had kept for only the direst moment. A warhead detonated inside the beast's heart. The ancient ship convulsed. Its shields shattered. Its weapons fell silent. And then, for the first time since it had appeared, it died. Silence swept across the void. The Alliance fleets, battered and broken, stared at the humans who had done the impossible. Where they had failed, Earth had triumphed. Where they had despaired, Earth had endured. When the Alliance Council finally hailed the Leviathan, expecting speeches, declarations or demands, they received none. The human admiral simply said, "The Predator is dead. Keep your world safe. We return to the hunt." With that, the human fleet withdrew, leaving behind only wreckage, silence, and awe. In the days that followed, the galaxy struggled to understand. Who were these humans who fought like no others? Why had they stayed hidden until now? Some said they had always been watching, waiting for a predator worthy of their claws. Others whispered darker things, that humanity itself was the predator, and they had merely reminded the galaxy of it. The Deathworld Alliance, hardened by centuries of war, found itself humbled. They had thought themselves the apex of survival. They now knew better. For there were predators, and then there were humans, and the galaxy would never forget the day the monsters of Earth arrived.